One of the hallmarks of Festool is our approach to dust extraction. And so far in these videos, we've talked a lot about our dust extractors in terms of the capture and collection of dust, particularly when we're working with power tools. The automatic trigger function, capturing the dust as it's being generated, is what we're all about here. But these machines are way more than just dust extractors. We use them for a lot of other things as well. We have some other add-on accessories like this suction holding device. You can put this on the vacuum, hold some molding on the wall while it's being installed. Pretty cool little device. Another one here is this suction unit that you can use with a drill. So if we're doing like some hammer drill type of work, we could have the hose connected to it, drill through the hole, get the dust as it's being generated. But we're also going to talk about, some of our different hoses. We have different lengths, different diameters. We have different cleaning attachments like this rotary brush. We also have different filters. So yes, a lot of them come with a HEPA filter. We have also wet filters if you want to use it for wet extraction. So it is a wet and dry machine. And really we want to emphasize the system approach, that everything can be stored together, can be moved together, and ultimately works together for greater efficiency. So let's dive on in on some more of the details of some of the other things that these dust extractors can do. So far we've been talking a lot about the term dust extractor. What does that mean, and why do we say dust extractor and not vacuum? Well, we are selling dust extractors. That means they're meant to be used with a power tool to extract the dust as it's happening, right? Well, they can also be used as vacuums or generally cleanup tool on the job site. So we have a nice little set. This is called the standard cleaning set. It comes all inside a Systainer. So it's one of our smaller Systainers, and inside you'd have all your different pieces you can put together. So it's nice and compact, very portable. I like to recommend you put one on top of your CT on that Systock. Keep it with you at all times so you can always clean up after a job. This one has 3 sections of straight tube, has an angle piece that does have a breakaway, so you can reduce the suction while you're using it. Then you've got your choice of a floor sweep that has the brushes. Or you can also use a crevice tool, which I usually tend to use just with the angled piece together like so. And this is all friction fit stuff. Or I would even just take the round brush, which I think is great for everything from cleaning up after a job or cleaning out your car. You can use that on the angle piece as well. So it's all interconnect. You can change it out. And then when I'm done at the end of the day, it all stores neatly back inside the Systainer. I can close it up, put it back on my dust extractor, and roll off the job.
So we also have 2 bigger cleaning sets. These come in a Sys 437, so our tallest Systainer. And you see them here in front. They're very similar, but also very different in that one is the plastic one, like Rick was just showing. Snaps together, friction fit, has on the bottom also a plastic head, which has 2 small wheels, which is quite nice for maneuvering around on the floor. Great for the job site, portability, all those things. In a workshop setting, you can also get this metal one. And the metal tube, it's a stainless steel type, very durable, obviously. But really the magic is in the head. So if you look at this head here, it's got one feature which really sets it apart, and it's this knob. So when you turn this knob, you can actually control the depth of these wheels, and that works for different types of debris, but it's just very robust. It's a wider head, so you can clean a larger area in a shorter amount of time. Also, one thing to keep in mind with these 2 larger kits is if you're thinking about getting a 36 millimeter hose. So our standard hose, which you see hanging up back here, 27 millimeter, this is what comes with most of our vacuums. Many customers will want to get a 36 millimeter hose for tools like the big routers. The Capex is another example. And what that 36 millimeter does is it really increases the airflow quite dramatically. So you'll get much better dust collection with the bigger port tools. If you're thinking about getting a 36 millimeter hose, getting it in one of these cleaning kits, these larger cleaning kits, is actually a great economic way to do it, because the hose by itself plus the cleaning kit, if you do the math, it works out to be pretty advantageous to get the hose through this set. So if you're in the market for a cleaning kit anyway, this is a great kit to look at. As Rick mentioned, with the compact cleaning set, we also offer a crevice nozzle and upholstery brush with both of these kits as well.
The last cleaning set we're going to look up in the lineup is the 4th one, and we call it the coarse dirt cleaning set. It's an industrial-based setup. This one's going to feature our largest diameter hose. This is a 50 millimeter hose, so you can imagine you're going to be able to pick up a lot of big contaminants with this hose. And with that, we marry to it 50 millimeter hose sections. We also have a large floor sweep, again with brushes. I love this one because it's really general purpose, and it has this kind of thinned area here. It allows some of the bigger debris, but not the biggest debris to get by. Some things you could just pick up by hand or maybe with a broom better, but this will pick up a lot of the big dust pretty quickly. And then we have a large crevice nozzle, and then lastly, again, the round brush, but this time it's set up to be used with a 50 millimeter diameter hose. This set is more for a shop-based use, so it does not come in the Systainer. Rather, it comes in this plain white cardboard box as it's labeled here. But you get all these pieces inside, and that is a 50 millimeter, what we call coarse dirt cleaning set. There is one more little cleaning accessory set that I want to show you. Now, we don't call it a cleaning set per se because it doesn't come in a Systainer, it doesn't come with a hose, but it is a nice little accessory set. It comes in here, and you have the standard crevice nozzle. You have my favorite, the round brush, and then the upholstery brush. So all three of these are available from this merchandisable clamshell that would just be hanging in your favorite Festool dealer.
So when we're thinking about dust extraction, one of the most important parts is the filtration aspect. And in the case of all Festool dust extractors, we have at least what is 2-stage filtration, sometimes 3-stage. We'll talk about how you get that 3rd stage. But your first line of defense, and really your primary filter, is the bag. And the way I always think about the bag is it's the less expensive filter, right? So the HEPA filter is quite expensive to replace. You don't want to have to replace it very often, and you shouldn't have to replace it very often. Typically what our vacuums are coming with the exception of the AutoClean vacuum, which is primarily for drywall and those types of dusts, our standard vacuum is coming with a fleece filter bag. These are a 5-micron filter, and we are what we call a self-cleaning filter bag. And so what that means is as dust is getting on the inside and it's lining and caking the inside of that bag, when you turn the machine off, that bag will actually collapse and it will break kind of the tension in the bag, and it'll help knock some of that dust down. You can see inside, this is the bottom of, I believe, a 26-liter vacuum. You can see how these go in and out. So there's this little green tab which holds it in place. And when we go to remove this, we actually take the bag out and we will pull this door closed. And now the dust is contained inside the bag. It's a one-way, one direction. So once you close it, it doesn't open again. Some customers will ask, well, I don't want to replace the bag, I want a permanent bag. We do have an option for that. We call it the lifetime filter bag. There are some advantages. Obviously, you can just remove this clasp and dump it out and then put it back in. There are also disadvantages. If you think of this as kind of the lungs of your vacuum, there is an advantage to, when this bag is full, throwing it away and then putting in a brand new clean bag. It's like that vacuum is brand new again. With this bag, it's fine if you have a router table or a router, you have big chips, it's not too bad. But when you have fine dust like sanding dust and you go to dump this bag out, it's actually quite difficult, if not impossible, to really get the bag completely cleaned out. You can blow it out with the air compressor, do different things, but sometimes it doesn't really work all that great. So fleece bags are great. They will definitely keep your filter much cleaner. In fact, you will rarely see anything with your eyes outside of this bag inside of the vacuum. So now that we've talked about the filter bags, what happens once, let's say something does get through the filter, the 5-micron filter. These are HEPA dust extractors, so all of our vacuums at this point are coming with HEPA filters. And what happens next? Well, typically what you're going to find is you're going to find something like this inside. They come in slightly different sizes depending on which machine you have, but in principle they all work about the same way. So this is a pleated HEPA filter. It's got this gasket around here which makes a nice tight seal. In this case, this one goes in here like this and clips into the machine. One thing about the Festool vacuums which is interesting and important from a design standpoint is all of our filters are sit up in kind of the top half of the vacuum. So if you're familiar with kind of like a round canister style vacuum, the filter oftentimes will sit down in the dust. And we have a flat filter design, so it's sitting up in the top, never sitting down in the dust. And because we have the bag as that first line of defense, what actually ever reaches this filter is pretty minuscule, and it's very fine, obviously, because you have a 5-micron bag. So this will take you down to 0.3 microns. That's what the HEPA designation indicates. We have other types of filters as well. You'll see 2 that I have here. These are a sponge. So if you are doing a wet pickup, sucking up water, for example, you don't want to leave your nice HEPA filter inside, because if they get wet, they don't like that. So what you should do is remove the HEPA filter, and in this case, put in the sponge filter. So what all this is doing is it's keeping the foam from reaching the turbine. So it's just a foam blocker. And I just showed this. We didn't show this earlier, but these, the CT15 and CT MIDI and the new cordless MIDI have a slightly different filter design, which is really cool. You actually don't have to take the machine apart to remove the filter. It's just like a little drawer, basically, which is quite interesting. All right, I mentioned that our dust extractors are 2-stage. We have the filter bag, which is stage number 1. That's catching most of the debris. And then we have the HEPA filter, which is stage 2. There is a way you can get a 3rd stage, and that is this Cyclone that you see here. We call it the CTVA, CT Cyclone. It sits on top of your dust extractor, as you can see here. It will fit on pretty much all of the dust extractors for the most part. And what is happening here is you'll see this short little jumper hose. So it is actually going, let's back up. You have the hose, which is connected to the tool or to your cleaning set. So the dust is coming in, and we'll take a look in a second. There's a cyclone mechanism inside of here, which is separating out all of the big chips. And then whatever is light enough, fine enough to make it through the cyclone, then goes down into your dust extractor. So as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we have that lifetime or long life filter bag. I think this is another option. I think they're similar in price. This might be a little bit more expensive, but you can get several of these clear containers. So if you're working on a job site where disposal is not possible or it's not easy, you're up in an apartment building, you could have theoretically multiple of these containers, and then they have come with lids, and you could just swap them out as your dust fills up. And I'll just quickly take this off. Okay, so let's take a look inside at the actual cyclone mechanism, and you can see it here. As we talked about earlier, the dust is coming in, it's swirling around, the heavy stuff is getting dropped to the bottom, and I can actually pull this apart here so you can see it's a pretty simple design. And then whatever makes it through this then goes into the filter bag. So that's another way, in this case, like I said, a 3rd stage that allows you to really prolong your bag life, but also create a nice, quick, easy way to empty out the vacuum when you're creating lots of debris.
As important as dust extraction is while we're working in the shop or on the job site, we don't want our dust extractor to take up a lot of extra space or get in the way. Plus, we want to be able to manage the hose and cord very easily. So in this case, I've taken our CT and I set it up with what we call our CT boom arm. This is a flexible piece that I can adjust as I'm sanding. I'm moving the tool around, but it's going to keep that hose and the cord up off the surface. It doesn't get caught on my material that I might be sanding or on the corner of my work surface or my table. In addition, the work center allows me to store tools I want to keep close to hand, but I don't necessarily want to go digging through and find them in a Systainer somewhere in the corner. They're all right here ready for me to use. With this setup, we've also added the separator. So this can catch the bigger chips, dust, get a large percentage of that, and then it filters through the CT. So I'm still having my CT dust extractor right here. It doesn't take up any additional footprint, and I've expanded the capacity with the separator, and I've increased organization by using the work center on top, and it makes for a much easier and more pleasant sanding experience. CT dust extractors are all equipped with wheels or casters. In the case of the CT26 that I'm showing you here, you can see it has multi-directional casters in the front. This makes it very easy to negotiate different obstacles on the job site. In the back, we have some larger wheels. The larger wheel diameters allow us to negotiate things like a threshold of a door, or maybe some gravel in a lot as we're pushing the CT along. And maybe you've got some Systainer stacked on top using the Systock feature, adds a little bit of weight. Those big wheels will help to move it. And for those times you don't want the CT to roll around or wander off, we have a parking brake right in the front. So if you're on the ground, you would step on it with your foot and raise the CT up. And that raises these casters up off the ground. It has a rubberized contact surface, so if it's on a hardwood floor, it's not going to score it as easily. And when you're ready to release it, you can hit it again with the foot, which will release the parking brake and allow you to go like this. Now, oftentimes we see in like tool triggered vacuums or canister style vacuums where they have multiple casters around the perimeter that are multi-directional. Problem with a lot of those is it's hard to keep them on course, particularly if you're pulling them with a hose as you're working along. They tend to just wander wherever they want to go. With CT dust extractors, and this is true for every model except for the CTC Sys, which doesn't have any wheels at all, you have independent axles back here, but they help keep the CT in line as I'm pulling it versus a multi-directional wheel in the back. So these are fixed, they're not going to turn. All the turning will be done in the front, but with this short wheelbase, it's pretty easy to turn it quickly and negotiate any obstacles you might run into. Another great way to boost efficiency when working with CT dust extractors is to take advantage of this top area we call the sys stock. Now this sys stock is equipped with multiple latches to connect to different types of Systainers. So whether you have a classic style that has the latches, that can work on here as well. You can flip these guys up, get that into position here. And then I have two clips on this side that we'll put in position as well. And then that's going to attach to the top. And then to use it with the newer T-lock style, I'll put these latches down. So now they're below flush. And I can take a T-lock style Systainer and just latch that to the top quickly and easily. And now I'm moving this all together as a unit, again, without expanding my footprint, needing to have room for another stack, and I can move everything into the job in one trip. All CT dust extractors feature a center top handle, so it's very easy to pick it up and move it around, but because it has wheels, generally we want to push it around, especially if we have other things on top of it. In the case of the CT15, although it doesn't have the sys stock feature, I still want to be able to push the machine around, so we have added to it this handlebar. This is an optional accessory. The handlebar attaches with some screws, and it gives you a place to wrap the hose with a quick breakaway. So I can rotate out, pull the hose or cord off. You can also store different cleaning wands and things and nozzles here. Right now I have it in the collapsed position. When I'm ready to actually move this piece around, I can extend the handle up, put it on the ground, and quickly and easily wheel away. So our compact vacuums, the CT15 or the CT MIDI, have a accessory handle available for them that can be attached easily and is collapsible. We also have a handlebar available for our CT26, 36, and a slightly different one for the CT48. These handles allow us to, again, easily move things around, especially if I'm using the sys stock feature of the CT and I have some weight on it or I have some height on it, I want to be able to push them around quite easily. So if we compare these two side by side, you can see the handlebar for the CT48 is slightly taller, and that has to do with the fact that it's a bigger ground tub that it's mounted to, and the attachment points are slightly different for them as well. On the CT26, 36, even the 36AC, you're going to connect it with a couple of screws at the bottom, but when we get to the CT48, you have 4 screws on the bottom, and then you also have 4 screws a little bit higher up for additional support. Because it is a taller unit, and I might have more height on it, I might have some more weight on it, and that just helps for a matter of leverage. But again, it just makes it easier to push these things around as you're working through a job site or even just around the shop. You can negotiate things like the threshold of a door, some gravel in a lot, and even with the oversized wheels and the handlebar, I find it quite easy to use it as a stair climber. So I've actually pulled them up a set of stairs, roll quite easily due to the wheel size, but also having that handlebar to give me the ability to pull it as well. Most of our dust extractors are equipped with a 27mm hose. I find that this hose is ideal for nearly everything, but sometimes you'll want to use the bigger hose, the 36mm hose, which we'll also show you. Now the beautiful thing about the 36mm hose, and there is 2 versions of it, is that it is a tapered hose. In this case, this is 27mm here, and it goes up to 32mm on this end. This is the end that plugs into the extractor, and this is the end that plugs into the tool. So over here I preserved a narrow hose. It's going to be very lightweight, very flexible, very easy to maneuver. And then this end that doesn't have to move, that's attached to the extractor, can have the larger volume. What this does essentially is reduce the friction inside the hose, so I have better airflow. And better airflow is going to mean better dust extraction, cleaner air, cleaner surface. Really cool feature with this hose is the ability to store it into itself. So when I am transporting the hose, I can easily connect the tool end into the extractor end and then carry it around and not worry about any extra stray dust coming out while I'm moving it around. This also means that I can take multiple sections of hose and connect them together to increase the length. So I could take another 27mm hose, plug it into the back, and now I have essentially extended the length of my hose. Now the other 27mm hose, the one that's in the CTC Sys, is a little bit different. It is not tapered like the other one, and it's a little bit shorter. So the standard length for us is 3.5 meters. This one's about 3 meters. This one also features our newest connection. Both have the feature of the bayonet fitting. So this is going to attach to a sander and get a really tenacious grip so it doesn't slip off or pop off easily. But this one also has this bypass valve, which you can easily adjust the suction. And you'll see this coming now standard with all of our 27mm hoses going forward, that you'll have this bypass valve here. So if I'm working with a detail sander and I'm working with a really fine grit, it's easy for the extractor to pull the sander tight into the surface. I usually just regulate that by reducing the suction force on the machine. But if I want to get a little extra break to it, all I have to do is open up this bypass valve to let air escape, and that'll break the tension on that sander as I'm sanding. So this is an example of a couple of our 27mm hoses. Again, this is mostly standard on all of our extractors with the exception of the CT36AC, which we will look at, and that has a black 36mm hose with a special fitting to fit onto our Planex drywall sander. So in front of us we have two examples of the 36mm hose. If you buy a CT36AC, that's our auto clean machine, it comes with this black hose. This black hose is very lightweight, very flexible, but it looks a little different, especially on the end that connects to the tool. That's because this hose and the CT36AC are really aimed to be working with the Planex drywall sanders. This ribbed area on the outside of the hose has a lock on the Planex that will grab it so it doesn't come off of that machine as you're sanding the drywall. But you have the advantage of having this large diameter hose. You get better airflow when we're working with a really high volume and light dust such as drywall sanding. The other 36mm hose, this comes in some of our cleaning sets as well, allows us to again have the advantage of greater airflow, but it doesn't necessarily connect to every single tool in our book. I would connect this to the miter saw, I would connect it to our track saws, routers, the planer, but when it comes to sanders, my first choice would be to use the 27mm. If I only had the 36 and wanted to use that, we do have an adapter that'll take you down, but this hose is larger in diameter, has a little more weight, not nearly as flexible as a 27, but still pretty flexible. This one features the material on the outside, which gives it a smooth feel versus the ribbed. This is really advantageous when I'm working on a surface where it can get caught on an edge. So this is going to glide over an edge pretty easily without getting caught or snagged. And the latest generation features bayonet fitting. So when I put this on a tool that has a mating bayonet fit, when it goes on, it actually locks into position and then it doesn't pop off so easily. So if I'm working with a tool that's moving like a router or a saw, I want to keep that hose connected to it. The bayonet fitting is a very secure fit. So both these have some type of locking mechanism. This one works with a drywall sander, and this is going to be for those large chip producing tools or high volume dust tools like track saw, router, or planer.
Well, we really thank you for tuning in today. Kind of closing statement here from my side is I hope you can see that the Festool Dust Extractors, it's really the foundation of our system, and it's something that when we're building any tool, we're always thinking about dust extraction. And really over the years, we've grown tremendously, just the amount of options and situations where we can help you to collect the dust, whether it's cleaning sets, whether it's the machines themselves. We have really big ones, really small ones, different functionalities like auto clean that we can offer, different filter options, whether it's wet pickup or dry pickup. There's just a huge range of things we can do in the area of dust collection at Festool.
You know, all those things add up together to boost productivity, they boost efficiency, while also helping to protect the air that you're breathing. So whether you're in the shop or on the job site, Festool Dust Extractors have you covered. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.